Hey, what's up? This is Nolan Gross, and you're listening to So Booking Cool with Jewel B. I'm excited for you guys to hear this.
Welcome to So Booking Cool. It's Jewel B. Today's guest is an actor, director, model, and creator. He starred in a range of work, including The Terminator, American Horror Story, Lucky Dog, CSI, and Any Day, just to name a few. He also directed a commercial for Nike. He is Nolan Gross.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Nolan. You're based in Cali, right?
Yeah, Huntington. I'm in Huntington Beach right now.
What's it like there?
In California or Huntington Beach?
Huntington Beach.
Ooh. Well, right now it's super sunny and it's almost the summer, so it's starting to pick up and like a lot of people are coming here, but it's super chill right now. We recently moved down here and it's been way different than living in LA just because the people here and it's a lot more laid back, and I guess that's the season we were in and we kind of needed that a little more, so it's really nice right here.
I know that you developed a love for acting at 6. Is that also around the age that you got into the industry, that you got to LA?
Yeah, so I was living in Las Vegas when I started pursuing acting, and I was we were driving like 3 hours from Las Vegas to LA for every audition. And like at the time I was getting a lot of auditions, so sometimes I would just stay out here for a few extra days and just like in case another audition came up. So I eventually moved to LA, but yeah, when I was about 7, we were living in Las Vegas, and then a few months in, we were like, we gotta move back to LA.
Did you observe anything about how your family was willing to make 3-hour drives so you could do that? Did that resonate with you when you were that age, or did you look back and realize like, wow, they really are supportive of my dreams or my talent?
Yeah, I think looking back now, I'm way more appreciative that we got to do that. And, 3 hours, that's a hefty drive. Sometimes we'll get like a 2-hour drive now just because of traffic, but like a 3-hour trek here to LA and back is like, that's crazy. So now I see like them in a different way of being super supportive. At that time, they've been so supportive throughout my whole career. But at the time, I was just thinking like, oh yeah, it's just a far drive. I'll like go on my phone or something, like my iPod, or like read a book when I'm a little kid. But now, if that happened like right now, I think I'd be even more over the moon. Like, hey, I'm so appreciative that you guys will do this for me. So.
And right. And while during those long drives, you were very young yourself. So yeah, probably didn't, you know.
Yeah, I didn't really have any conversation. Like, I probably didn't have any meaningful conversations with my parents like I would now, where, there's different things we could talk about. But as a young kid, it's all fun and games. But, there probably wasn't substance to the conversations back then.
What appealed to you about acting, and is it the same thing that still appeals to you?
At the time, what appealed to me was how these kids got to be so much different than their actual selves, which is still appealing to me now because I can be someone else and do different things while I'm acting and, embrace a character. But I think what intrigued me at a young age was just seeing these kids and not knowing what their real lives were like, and not caring what their real lives were like just because of how good they were acting and how like emerged into these projects they were in. I think it's the same thing now. I want to be the actor where people are like, don't even question what my real life is like because they think they know me in the movie or show or whatever I'm doing. So I think that stuff as a young actor has carried over into what I've been learning recently, but everything about acting still intrigues me and I'm still fired up for it.
Wow. What about when it comes to directing? Tell us, because you also have a passion for that as well. Do you love it more than acting, or is it about the same?
There's different things that I like about both. I think what intrigued me about directing was just I used to post once a week on a YouTube channel on my YouTube channel because my dad said, hey, if you want a phone, then you're gonna have to like show some commitment to something, because at the time my school wasn't, like, we didn't have homework or showing me any motivation. So he's like, if you do this once a week, you can keep your phone. And over time, I grew to love making videos and, making an artistic piece every week out of something, like out of my own ideas. So it started as like a chore basically, but then as I grew up, I learned that like I do have an eye for this, and like this is something I love. So there's different things about acting and directing, but they go hand in hand. You see a lot of actors become directors because, a lot of people have that same, they have that same eye. So, there's different things that I like about both, but they're both really fun to me.
And that night commercial that you directed, it is so awesome. And you're also in it as well. So I've always wondered, what is it like for the person who directs and then is also acting in what they have directed?
I think that for me was just trusting who was behind the camera, and we had already had a script laid out and a shot list laid out, so we knew what we wanted to accomplish, and when everyone was on the same page of what we wanted it to look like, it just made things run smoother. But I think the only thing that is not as good being behind the camera and being like in front of the camera is if something happens, like you might miss the smallest thing when you're like, if you're just watching it back, you're like, okay, that looks really good. But you might miss something that, like, if you're just directing and focusing on it, like you would catch, but if you're doing both, you might miss something.
Mm.
But they go pretty hand in hand. It's actually not as hard as you would think. You just have to have everything laid out before.
And it came full circle for you directing that Nike commercial because you used to model for Nike as well.
Yes, I did. I used to model for them in their soccer and like basketball ads, and at the time I was going hard at soccer. Like I was playing club soccer. I still play soccer to this day, but not as much as I used to. And yeah, coming full circle from that, like it's crazy to think that I used to be a model for them and now I get to direct for them. Like, people at their company might not even know that. They might just be like, oh, okay, yeah, we just hired this kid to direct this commercial. But they might not even know that I modeled for them, which in my mind, that's pretty cool to think like, hey, they might not know, but if they ever do, like, they'll put the pieces together and be kind of shocked. Like, oh, wow, a few years later, like, he's behind the camera.
You've also had the chance, Nolan, to grow into your craft. Your first role was on The New Normal. So how would you say you have grown since then in your profession?
I think that how I've grown is just diving deeper into what I love. I feel like I lost my passion at one point, and I think it showed through my acting and auditions, and my managers and agents even said like, hey, what's up? Like, you should get into coaching and stuff. And, I always kind of denied coaching and thought it was like, I only need it for auditions if I get one. But what really flipped the switch for me was when I started doing coaching and started taking classes with this acting teacher, Marjorie Ballantyne. And she's been such a great teacher and someone to learn from. And she's also become someone that like I look up to and is a friend to me. Like, she's an older lady, and she's just, you wouldn't even think that she has an old soul, but she also has a young soul at the same time. And it's really taught me just to look at acting in a different way that I've never looked at before. And even though I might not be auditioning at certain points, I'm always growing still. And that's something that I've learned over these years, is that even if you don't have auditions, you can't just stop and get back into it. You got to keep going after it, if you really like, if it's something that you really like. So, yeah,
I love that.
that's it.
That is really wonderful. What can you pinpoint what that exact moment was, Nolan, when you decided that, you know what, maybe I should go for the coaching?
It was actually like the first one-on-one thing that we did. And I always thought that coaching, I was like, oh, I don't want to get coached. Like, come on, I could do this on my own, which if anyone reads this and is an actor or listens to this and it's like, oh my gosh, like that is so not true. You need other people to make you better, and people need people, so we can all get better as one, and somebody can teach you. You don't know everything. So when I walked into that first lesson, I was open to a whole new side of acting that I had never seen, and that was the moment where I was like, I want to keep learning from her. And there's obviously other ways that people do things, and it's good to hear other perspectives, but the one that she's teaching me right now is just, there's all different perspectives and ways to attack a scene and attack a character. So yeah, that first lesson was so pivotal, and I was like, I just got to keep pursuing this.
What advice from Marjorie Valentine would you give to other actors?
There's so much. I got to think of.
Yeah, that's fine.
She always says that. Well, if you're an actor, like you always open up a scene with like. She says you always have to have a moment. And before you start a scene, you always have to have a moment of, you don't just hop into a scene and, how are you doing? You gotta think about something before that. And she always says that there's subtext. One thing that I love that she always does is, if there's a deep scene or like, just a scene about like, hey, I'm going to this candy store or something so simple like that. She'll be like, well, why are you there? Or it's like, someone got hurt. Why does that hurt you? It's like, think of something that you can relate to so it's not fake. And acting should never be fake, even if you relate it to something in your real life that might not be the same thing, but it affects you in the same way. You always have to have subtext, and that's something that I've learned, like taking moments from my real life and putting them into scenes just makes things better.
Wow, that does sound like amazing advice. I have to just put my 2 cents on that and say,
Yeah.
is this also the acting coach who like really saw your talent like right away and said that you reminded them of a young Logan Lerman? Is this, or is that someone else?
No, I'm pretty sure that was John Kirby. That was like right when I first started acting, and that also came full circle because I played a young Logan Lerman in the film Noah, and it was pretty funny because I was done like coaching with him, and a few years later I was like, hey, it's so funny, like that's something I remember that you said, and now it kind of came full circle. And he's like, what? So yeah, that was a pretty funny experience, like just to share with him.
What are your thoughts on full circle moments in general?
I think it's rewarding. I think that when you're in it and you see it at first, you're like, oh wow, like this is cool. But when you take a step back and you look at it, you're like, oh wow, that worked out like that, and this worked out here, and you don't really expect it when you start. Like when I started modeling for Nike, I had no intention of ever directing a video or film for them, or like even directing. So it's cool to see that years later, something like that comes full circle, and you're like, oh wow, that actually, it's a pretty rewarding moment.
Which of the projects has been the most inspiring for you to date?
Um,
You've done a lot in your
Thank
young
you.
career, yep, already.
I would say when I did Noah, that was the first big film that I ever got, and that was so inspiring to me because when I auditioned the first time, they said, "Hey, it was a Friday." They said by Monday, yeah, I'm pretty sure by Monday they said if you could get to New York, they want to bring you back for a director session, and like the director, the producers are going to be there, but you got to fly to New York on your own dime. And we got to New York. I met Darren Aronofsky, and I thought it went great. I walked in. I was like, this is at the time this was no big deal to me because I was like, it was still a big deal but I didn't know who they were. If I'm being honest, like I was not up with the culture when I was 9, so I didn't know who anyone was really. So I wasn't starstruck or anything. I wasn't trying to like be someone else. I was just being me. And when I walked out of the room, Darren's assistant said, "It was good to see you. We'll see you soon." And you know, you don't really say that to someone that you're not going to see soon.
Hmm.
So we kind of took that as oh wow, they're going to bring me back. And that night they said, "Could you come back tomorrow?" And did another scene, met with them again. And when I eventually heard that I got the film, it was so inspiring because throughout making that film and being on set with all those people, like I said, I knew who some of those people were after I did my research a little, but you know, they're just real people and we're all in the same industry. But it was inspiring to see like how other people interact with people like me. Like this is my first film and you're acting like I've done 1,000 of these and like you think I'm a professional already, and it's so inspiring that they treated me the same way that they treated these veterans that have done so many movies.
Mm.
And it kind of just gave me that like, hey, if I ever do as many movies as these people, like your first job is as good as like your last one. So you gotta treat people with the same respect as like they've done this as long as you, because like that's just inspiring to see that like as on my first film they treated me like that. So that was so cool, and it was such a good experience to have as my first big movie.
You know, earlier you did mention that there were a lot of kids who you were just so moved by and you didn't necessarily care about their real life, but you were so mesmerized like by their acting performances pretty much. Who were some of these people and what were some of these projects that really moved you and inspired and motivated you as an actor?
When I was younger, I would say, like watching the Goonies and like kids in that movie, like I remember seeing the Goonies for the first time, and I felt like I could be one of those kids. Like when I was watching that, I was like, I could be their friend. Like I felt so connected to them, maybe because they were around my age, or because I watched it a little late. I watched it when I was like 10ish or something, but it inspired me because I felt connected to them, and I felt like if I ever do a film like that or any film, I want people to think that like, hey, we could be friends, and they could be the other person in that movie, like that character, like that could be, like they could be in that, and that was so inspiring to see those kids at such a young age be such great actors and connect with people in the outside world.
Mm-hmm. And what does your dream role look like?
I think my dream role it could go either way. There could be the action movie part, like one of my favorite movies is Baby Driver, so like
Ooh.
something like that, or something like a drama where it it might not be the situation that I'm in, but it could be something where I could show my true emotion and show who I really am, but through a different character. Like that would just be really fun, and that could have some contrast to the shooting and the guns and that other dream role where, I'm getting chased like Baby Driver, so.
I have no doubt that you would nail that, Nolan. I have to also ask, oh yeah, would you ever write a book?
I mean, when I was younger, I started writing a book, sorta. I think it was called through no, I forget what it was called, but we had like a cover and stuff. But I think I kind of lost. It was about like my acting career and like how to help other people. But I think that it kind of faded out because I wasn't at a place yet where I could truly speak about acting because I was just starting. And well, I wasn't just starting. I was like 12, but I mean, maybe down the line I would write a book, but right now I think I'm gonna pursue like other things, but I think it would be super fun.
Okay, okay. And can you tell us like what some of those things are?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm making music and still like pursuing acting and directing, but right now I'm working on a lot of music stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so that's been really exciting.
That is exciting. Like, what's your favorite type of music to create?
Uh, to create, I don't I don't know yet.
Okay.
I've we've just been me and some of our friends have just been writing a lot, and we're taking it to the studio. I'm taking this to the studio like next week, but I'm just writing a lot of stuff right now. But like what I like to listen to is like a lot of rap and then a lot of pop, and I think I have a wide range of music that I like to listen to. I'll listen to someone like Kanye, and then I'll listen to someone like the 1975 or like Lainey, which are like on a different spectrum of Kanye and like rap and stuff like that. So I have a lot of um, inspiration from that. So I don't want to try and be someone else. I just want to try
Hmm.
and be myself, but I think you'll see a little inspiration from those people like bleed through a little.
So is this an album, an EP that you're currently working on, a single?
Um, right now I don't know. I think we'll I think I'll eventually put out a single and then, maybe an EP or an album will come out, but right now I'm just trying to get the best like content and songs that I can. So it doesn't just sound like I'm that actor turned musician. Like a lot of kids try and be that actor and musician,
Hmm.
when they should only stick to acting. But I don't want to be one of those type of kids. Um, so I'm just trying to make the best music that I can, and we'll see where that goes.
What are you learning through this process, and what advice would you give to the actor who is looking to tap into their passion for music as well?
Well, what I've learned is just when I'm writing,
Hmm.
I feel like I have so much to say and so much to put out there. But I think a lot of people say like, oh, hold your tears in, hold these things in, you can't say that. And I think that if you have something to say, then you just gotta say it, because what I've learned through this is like writing everything out and just like speaking out what is in my head
Hmm.
is like the best tool and is the best healer too, because like there's things that I might just be keeping in, but I can just let out in a song. And I would say that someone that wants to turn from actor to musician, like, yeah, don't be afraid to, and like if you're really driven, then you just gotta keep going after it, and you say something powerful and say something that means something. Instead of like, there's a lot of people right now that are just saying things to say things, but they don't mean it. So, mean what you say.
And on that note, Nolan Gross. Nolan, it was an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I
My
wish you
pleasure.
thank you so much. And I
Thank
was
you.
going to say I wish you a lot of much continued success already. You're so young, and I feel like even though you've done a lot of great things, you're just getting started.
Thank
And
you.
yes, of course, and I think that you really are inspirational for a lot of people and could be inspirational for a lot of people who might not realize it yet. So yeah, let everyone know how they can keep up with you and your social media, your YouTube channel, and definitely would love to talk to you again in the future, especially about your music at some
Yeah.
point. So
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And yeah, it's just Nolan Gross on all platforms basically. Um, yeah, if you want to check me out there, love to connect. All right.
thank you so much to all the
No, thank
listeners.
you. Yeah, thank you.
And until next time, so booking cool.
Hey, what's up? This is Nolan Gross, and you are listening to So Booking Cool with Jewel B. I'm excited for you guys to hear this.